Some big-name New York Democrats still holding out their endorsement for Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani after his victory in last month's New York City mayoral primary. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer would not answer my question about it yesterday as why he's yet to endorse, saying, as he said, for about 2.5 weeks that he'd meet with Mamdani soon. Fellow Brooklynite and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is also held off on a Mamdani endorsement, saying that he'll meet with him next week. A lot of meetings are going to take place. At the same time, some national Democrats have taken it even a step further. Take a listen at what former Minnesota Congressman and presidential candidate Dean Phillips said last night when asked if there's any room for Mamdani and himself in the Democratic Party.
The answer ultimately, I think, is no. You know, we do share many of the same values. In fact, most Americans share a lot of the same values. But as a political party, yes, you want diversity. You want some differences of opinion, perspective, life story, politics, and experience. But when you have socialists, in the Democratic Party, I don't know how anybody could argue that that would be beneficial for the party or for the country.
Okay, joining me on set to talk about all of this, Reese Gorman, politics reporter for Notice, Ashley Etienne, former communications director for Vice President Harris and Speaker Pelosi, and Rob Bluey, the president and executive editor of the Daily Signal. So, Reese, we've had a lot of talk from Democrats, establishment Democrats, especially about expanding the tent. But are they only talking about trying to draw in people from the right and into the middle? And I wonder if the Democratic tent doesn't include both Dean Phillips and Mamdani, who's the one that's left out of that tent in the future?
I think only time will tell, but it is definitely telling that a lot of these members are not willing to endorse Mamdani for sure. I mean, Gregory Meeks even today said that when asked if he would endorse it, I'm not sure yet. So, there's a lot of members that are skeptical of this. And I think it's a lot because, Republicans for so long have tried to tie the socialist kind of anvil around Democrats' neck and try to tie them to it. And now they have the front runner to be the next mayor of this country's biggest city is a self-proclaimed Democratic socialist. And so I do feel that that is something Democrats are somewhat afraid of. But as far as the big tent party, only time will tell whether it be Dean Phillips probably feels that he's already been pushed out of the party, having to leave Congress and try to Biden. So I think that Dean Phillips might honestly feel like maybe it is a party of Mamdani at this point.
So let's see what the Democratic strategist thinks about it, actually. Is the future of the party Mamdani or is the future of the party Dean Phillips?
I don't think the party knows. I think the party is facing a 3-alarm fire. I think there's a massive identity crisis that the party's facing that is not yet acknowledged and not been honest about quite yet. It's also facing a dated, aged infrastructure problem, meaning how we tactically engage with voters. And I would say the third is a growing distrust and a trust gap between our base voters and the party. We've been bleeding our base voters since 2012, massive, massive numbers. And, and Donald Trump is credited with a lot of that. But it's not until we actually face up to this 3-alarm fire that we're facing and become honest about it, sober about it, and address it head on, I think we get past this. But I think what's going to be key in it is the pressures on the DNC to produce an autopsy. Produce an autopsy. Tell us what's the direction so we can coalesce around a direction and then a message and then move forward.
But and you're talking about
leadership.
Yeah, you're talking about it from a macro level, which I appreciate it. But on the micro level, is pushing Mamdani aside and not embracing him and the voters that come with him, is that a smart strategy for the future?
Well, I don't know that is the case. I don't think his message is that far removed from what Democrats have been.
So what are they waiting for?
He wanted an affordability message, and Democrats have been about affordability since
But he seems to be articulating it better than a lot of these folks that are in power.
And that becomes the problem for the party, which is the message and the messengers. But if you don't understand why you lost, why it is you have this trust gap with our most important voters right now, you're going to continue to find ourselves in this position where we're going to have all these factions fighting each other for space.
So, Rob, let's go back to a period of time. Let's go back all the way back to 2015. Can we remember that? And there was another party that had an autopsy that was trying to figure out what their future was like. And in came this outsider that sold a completely different message and took control of the party. Are the Democrats in a similar position to where the Republicans were before Donald Trump?
Perhaps they are, and a lot of those things that were in the Republican autopsy obviously were things that conservatives strongly disagreed with. They were running away from some of the very issues that Donald Trump decided to embrace, immigration being the most prominent of them, Ryan. And so I would say that with Mamdani, we have some lessons on a global scale. Look at the socialist mayor of London and the problems that are happening in that city because of the policies that he's pursued. Crime is on the rise. Homelessness is on the rise. There's a housing crisis in London. These are things that New Yorkers can expect to see if Mamdani's policies are embraced in that city. And so I think that's why you're seeing J.D. Vance come out and point to the contrast between him and the Republicans, and you're going to continue to see Republican candidates try to run against this image of him and Alexandria Cortez and Bernie Sanders. They love that moment that
But the problem with the party is that we're not arguing on the substance. We're not arguing what is socialist versus a traditional Democrat. We're not saying this is why you shouldn't vote for this guy. More than anything else, we're just demonizing him. And I think that's where we're losing ground and losing and missing an opportunity to bring more voters to the table and really educate people on who we are as a party.
And I think that you hit such an important point, Ashley, because if you've seen these Instagram video or the social media videos, the guy right now can't even walk down a street in Midtown Manhattan without somebody stopping him for a selfie at every moment. And I understand that, policy aside, there's a bit of personality associated with that. But go ahead, Reese.
And to that point, I mean, he really did take this kind of new media approach. I mean, I don't live in New York, been in New York City twice in my life, and he was on my feed and all these creators.
Right.
Just consistently. And so it was like, I mean, he did take this kind of approach similar to what Trump did going on all these podcasts of teaming up with these creators that younger generation especially taps into.
Yeah, and I want to push you on something here, though, Rob, because I think it's easy just to dismiss him as a socialist and say that his policies are going to destroy everything. But there's a lot of the same things that he's talking about that you see Republicans talking about, right? Josh Hawley's really worried about the impact that these Medicaid cuts are going to have on rural America, rural hospitals shutting down, saying that Republicans are kind of turning their backs on the working class. Is there more that Republicans need to do to take a lesson as to how Mamdani's message about affordability, not necessarily the policy specifically, but the message that there are people here that are hurting and want help?
Sure, I'll give you this. I do think that populist message does resonate. I mean, Trump obviously made it work, and there are a number of Republicans, including J.D. Vance and Josh Hawley, who I think found success pushing on some of those same buttons. So, yes, I would expect that he's going to continue to do so. The thing that I don't know enough about the situation in New York City, it wasn't a vote against Andrew Cuomo or how much enthusiasm is there for Mamdani. And so that's what we'll see obviously play out. I saw a new poll out today that shows Eric Adams is running in fourth place behind the Republican in that city. And so it's interesting to watch the New York City situation play out. I don't think it's representative of the whole country and the situation in Missouri with Josh Hawley.
Right.